So I've been a gamer my whole life. Whenever I first got into video games, it was actually my brother's fault that I was introduced. He had an Xbox that he just recently got for Christmas, and from that point on, I was completely addicted to playing video games from basically when I got off of school to when I went to bed. So initially, I started playing Halo. It was back when I was like 11 to 12 years old. After that, I started to discover Call of Duty and different games. I started to branch off into other things. And from that point on, I've been completely hooked to the whole competitive gaming, playing for fun, playing with friends and stuff like that. So when I found Call of Duty, I was still really young. I was probably 12 or 13 years old, back in the stone ages of Call of Duty. Some of the first ones that were released, Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty 3, that's whenever I initially started. So whenever I was going to school, I was heavily into sports. I had a very high competitive background. I was going to the gym, working out, trying to get better at sports and stuff like that. After sports practice was over, me and two of my best friends from high school would come home every single day. Every single day we'd come home and play on a site called GameBattles.com, and that's still around. We'd play on Game Battles for literal hours at a time, and we'd play these matches. We played TDM, and I played TDM so much throughout all of Call of Duty 4. That's whenever I really started getting into Game Battles, competitive, and finding that outlet for competitive gaming. So after school every single day, me and my two best friends from high school would come home from football practice actually. So we were getting home at around 6 p.m. We'd hop on Game Battles instantly, and Game Battles is a site basically where you set up competitive matches against other players for specific times, much like any other, sports match that you have. You set a specific time, you play the match, you report the match, you can get another match if you want, stuff like that. And there are rankings to this, so you can see where you rank and how you are against other players in the world. So we would play these for hours on end, hours on end. There was no money involved, absolutely zero money involved, and we would just play for fun. And we played a very, very good team one night. I remember it like it was yesterday. I actually met one of my best friends from gaming through it. His name was Bobby, or Austin Hamway. After the match, we ended up beating them. We reported it, just like a normal match. Afterwards, I checked my Xbox inbox, and they said, hey, do you want to try out for our team? And I was like, try out? Like, I'm the best, baby. Like, how do you want me to try out for your team? Like, I just had an ego for no reason. And we played a 1v1 team deathmatch free-for-all against their team leader on, I forget what map was. I think it was Kill something. It was a tiny map. I played a 1v1 against him to join their team. I ended up beating him, completely obliterating him, and I ended up joining their team. From that point on, that was towards the end of Call of Duty 4, I actually was introduced to MLG and the whole competitive side of video games. Like, I never knew about it. All I knew was Game Battles. And Game Battles is competitive, but it's not Major League Gaming and where these tournaments and LANs or local area network tournaments are held, where people fly all across the world to go to. So this is how I was introduced to that. We started playing on PCL ladders with this new team that I picked up, and we didn't do very good. I'm gonna be honest with you. We didn't play well. We weren't the best team right off the start. It took a lot of grinding and patience and perseverance to actually get to the higher points of getting on pro teams and meeting up with pro players and stuff like that. At the beginning of Modern Warfare 2 is whenever I first started to get my recognition as a better player. This is where I met players like Stainville. He's now retired, but he was a very, very good player back in the day. And that sort of helped me join Team Fear. Team Fear was a highly renowned Call of Duty 4 team. They were very good, always at the top of the PCL ladder or the Pro Circuit ladder. Super good team. I joined that team probably halfway through Modern Warfare 2. After that point, it was smooth sailing for me. I actually then joined a team with Stainville at the beginning of Black Ops 1. And in Black Ops 1, I then joined a team named Leverage. And this is how I really jumped from being that amateur player that had a name and like people knew who I was to being at that professional level and people actually respected me as a pro player. So I joined Stainville's team. I joined a team then named Team Obey. After Stainville's team, I left that team. I got an offer from a better team named Obey. I joined them. Things didn't go well with them. I was extremely unhappy. I was about to go to my first MLG event, which was MLG Dallas in 2011. My mom was super apprehensive about it. I actually asked Team Obey to drop me from their team because I signed a contract that I didn't want to sign. And that's a thing. Don't sign contracts unless you're 100% sure or you have someone look over it. Like, you do not want to do that. So I joined Team Obey. I was asking them to leave. Hours before roster lock, they call me and they're like, yo, you're off the team. You're not on the team anymore. I was actually asleep. during this. So I woke up to like 6 missed calls, like you're dropped from the team, you're not on this team anymore, look for a new team. And that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to happen. I was sort of arrogant. I was 15, I was very young, and I wasn't very smart. So throughout my years of playing competitive Call of Duty, there's been a lot of ups and downs with different teammates, different teams, team chemistry, and basically just the way that I've bonded with teammates. And I've also learned a lot from them as well too. Back in the day in MW2, like I said, I was a young, arrogant kid when I was joining Team Fear. Moho was one of the best leaders that I've ever encountered. Even whenever I was hot-headed, tempered, and throwing a hissy fit, basically, I mean, I was young, he would always be there to calm me down, be like, listen, man, it's okay. You know, it's not that big of a deal. Just get off. Like, he would let me get off from practice, and he'd just be like, just take a breather, pretty much. He'd say, take a breather. And that really helped me out because, like I said, I clashed heads with a lot of people coming up, and it never broke ties with them. I'm still good friends with a lot of people that I clashed heads with. It's just when you're trying to be the best in the world, and you're trying to be competitive, and like I said, be on the best team in the world, you're gonna get into arguments, you're gonna butt heads, but you cannot take it personally. You can never, ever, ever take it personally, because when it becomes personal, that's whenever you start to resent your teammates, and when you start resenting your teammates and getting mad at them, that's whenever teams fall apart, that's whenever egos clash, and that is just a recipe for disaster. In MW2, on Team Fear, that team was great. Why I left them? It's because Envious pretty much offered me, it was called Envious Blue, they offered me a spot, and they were a better team, and I got along great with them. Envy Blue, I got along fantastically with them. Again, it comes into play that the team that I got offered to next, which was Team Obey, they were just a better team again. And turning down better teams is the worst thing that you can do. Like, you can love these people, you can be great friends with them. Sometimes you gotta sacrifice friendship to become the best. Like, you gotta cut ties with players that you don't think are on your level, that don't have the same drive as you, that aren't communicating like you. Like, you have to have that atmosphere around you all of the time to get better. You need people around you that wanna get better and wanna build as a team. So I joined Team Obey, and this was a team of highly skilled players, all great individually, but this was a time that just egos clashed. It didn't work. I was a hothead. A couple of my other teammates were hotheads. We all thought we were the best in the game, and that's whenever things just didn't work. We never had somebody that was on that middle ground trying to pull us back to reality and say, listen, man, like, you're wrong. It would just constantly go on. We'd constantly argue. It would never get resolved. And that's why I wanted to leave the team. Honestly, we didn't get along. I didn't think that we were going to place well because of our egos clashing. And that's why I was like, I just want to leave the team. I don't even want to go to the event with you guys. Like, we don't get along. We don't get along very well. And it sucked because I did have a very good friend on that team. And unfortunately, things just didn't work out. Then I joined Leverage, and this was like the perfect combination. Leverage was like everything came together finally. Me and Bobby were best friends already. Aches and TP were already a duo. We all got along really, really well. We worked great as a team, great communication. All of us strived to be the best, and we were the best. We won the very first tournament, and we won another tournament after that after making a roster change. And it happens. Like, people, sometimes they just don't want to do it anymore. It's very stressful. People don't understand, like, everybody wants to see you lose sometimes, and you have to understand that the hate comes out a lot stronger than the positive things, and that's what tore that team apart, honestly. Bobby got dropped. We picked up Proofy. We dropped Proofy later after because, again, we felt that he lost the drive. We picked up Fears, and then we lost MLG Nats, which was the biggest tournament with Fears, and it was just like time and time again, people just losing the drive, losing the focus, losing the motivation to be on the best team in the world. And it sucked because the core three, we were capable of being the best. We won 2 out of the 6 tournaments, and for that to happen, it was just unfortunate. So after the 2011 season, which was Black Ops 1, that's whenever I met Hector, and that introduction to Hector was really what molded my career into what it is today. Like, Hector is basically my second dad. He always has been. He's really taught me a lot about everything, but let me talk about how I got from Leverage to Optic. So I met Hector. I knew Rambo as well, who was the previous captain of Optic Gaming years and years and years ago. I was good friends with Rambo. He knew that I was a good player. He knew that I had a lot of talent and a lot of potential, but it just hadn't been cracked yet. I was picked up to Optic, and he is like my COD teacher for all time. Rambo has taught me basically everything that I know. He taught me how to play the game correctly and how to take my game from winning a couple tournaments here and there to winning a majority of my tournaments by playing discipline and playing the game the right way. So I joined Optic after the 2011 season going into MW3. This is where we ran into a little bit of turbulence. We actually joined a different organization at the beginning of MW3, which was Apex NA. And the reason why we joined that organization was because Call of Duty was basically dead at this time. There wasn't really a lot going on. There were a couple online tournaments here and there, but we wanted to go to LANs. We wanted to fly out to tournaments all around the world and compete for money. So Apex NA was willing to send us to Europe because that's literally the only place that there were tournaments being held. There was no MLG, no UMG, none of these pro circuits. It was just EGL and all of the tournaments overseas. So Apex NA was willing to fund us to go over to those tournaments. So we actually left Optic, and Hector was like, we're not gonna fund you guys to go to those tournaments. We don't think that it's worth it. You guys can go with Apex NA, and after that, come back to us. We'll be willing to help you guys out. So we go to Apex NA for a couple of months. It wasn't even that long, maybe 3-4 months, just to go to these European tournaments. And we won a couple of them. We won most of them, actually. I think we won like 3 out of 4 of them. And then after that, we transitioned back into Optic, which was at the beginning of Black Ops 2. And then basically from that point on, it's been smooth sailing. That's whenever we picked up Nadeshot for Rambo. Nadeshot really taught me a lot about the whole streaming, YouTube, and all of the social media aspects. He really like showed me the way. Rambo taught me a lot about the game, and then Nadeshot was picked up for Rambo. Ever since that point, it's been like just a roller coaster. I mean, Nadeshot left the team after Call of Duty Champs. After that, I was the new captain of Optic Gaming. And I mean, from that point on, I've just learned so much about competitive and players and how to react to people, how to talk to people, business. I've just learned so much. So after all that I've learned coming up through the Call of Duty ranks, I have a lot to teach you.